Saturday, October 27th, 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 2018. Guys, this next video is about two objects that I've seen recently in the skies, the early morning hour skies from southeast Phoenix. One was a giant craft that I accidentally got on video. I just happened to be videoing the southeastern sky, which is something that I do every October and every March. And in October, it's during the early morning hours when Hydra is coming up in the eastern sky just before sunrise. And in March, it's after sunset when Hydra comes up in the eastern sky. There's something very special here. It's very difficult to explain. Those of you that know me since 2012 know that I saw something in the sky, discovered it by accident in 2012, and the only time I could see it was in March. That's when I first saw it, was March of 2012. I saw it again in October of 2012, and I've been following it ever since. The last time I saw this, looks like a pulsar, was in October of 2014, and it was right in this area here. And it left such an impression on me that I still look for it to this day. I haven't seen it, though, in a few years, but it was right in this area here. I will say, though, that 2 mornings ago, I was very surprised. I was not looking for what I'm about to share with you, nor today was I looking for what I saw, but it just came upon me. I happened to videotape what I saw both mornings. The one video, it's kind of hard to see because it's not meant to see. And I'm going to share that one with you first. What I saw was as big, if not bigger, than a football field. It went flying over the southeast Phoenix area. And honestly, you could play the World Series on this thing, in this thing, maybe twice. It was that big. You could play a couple of football games on it at the same time. It was absolutely huge and made no sound. I'm just being brutally honest. This is what I do every October and every March. I'm looking to the east, southeast with my camera, and I'm determined to try to see this pulsar-looking neutron star once again. I've seen it 90 different times, and I never had the equipment, or, you know, I guess it took a little bit of luck too. I knew when and where to look, but it's so fast that you needed really good equipment in order to get it. It's a a red and blue cloud that flashes on 3-minute intervals, and it's just a cloud. It looks like a nebula, and you can only see it for 1 week during October and 1 week during March, and that's it. And then the Earth moves out of position and you can't see it. But I've got my camera and I'm in the ready position waiting for it, and it just doesn't show up. However, the last couple of mornings there's been other things show up that really surprised me, to say the least. Here's my vantage point. This is where the camera's at. You can see right here, okay? The camera's looking here. This object came from here, covered the entire southern skyline. You're going to see it in a video, part of it, because it's not meant to be seen, okay? You got to keep in mind, this thing made no sound. It was, like I said, big enough to host the World Series. It was huge. Had dull red lights on the top of it, because when it got over here in the western sky, I got a chance to see the top as it was zipping by, and again, with no sound. It entered over here as this was recording. I just happened to be recording with video because I saw something flash over here, and I turned on the video. Otherwise, I'd just taken a few pictures. Hadn't really seen anything, to be totally honest with you. But here goes what I saw. This is the video. I turned it on about a minute before it appeared, and you can see it in the bottom of this video that I'm about to show you. You cannot see it in its original format because it's jet black. You're not supposed to see it. And it made no sound. But this is the very best I could do. I run it through multiple different filters to try to pull this thing forward, and I've been working on this for 2 days. So here I am. I just turned on the camera. The direction that I'm looking is in the east-southeastern sky, and I've got the camera pointed up towards this star here in Hydra. So it's at a pretty good angle. Again, you're not going to be able to see anything because it's pitch black. And this object is the same color as the sky. It came right through here, and it exited the west sky. There's the star. That's Alfred and Hydra. This is the area where I've seen since 2012. I haven't seen it since 2014. The pulsar-looking object that is red and blue. One time it'll be red, the next time it'll be blue. It's very fascinating. I haven't seen it, like I said, for 4 years. But I still look, okay? So this object, what you're looking at is the moment that it went by, and it's just at the bottom of the video. Okay, so that means the camera was pointing up here. This object went through the camera's field of view. I saw it. It was to my right before I knew it, and that's why I moved the camera here. You're going to see the moon right there. That's where it went. Let me stop this thing real quick. And whoops, the moonlight actually helped magnify this thing a little bit, or at least let me see a shape. You can't see it. It went right through here, and I saw the top of it right over here, and it had dull red lights across the top. I can't emphasize how big this thing was, and it made no sound. This thing could not have been for use on planet Earth. It was just too big. I mean, it was massive. But anyway, it went through here, went by the moon. That's when I got a good look at it, but didn't have time to move the camera. I was actually shocked. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was so big. So here's what I did. Those are stars. That's the moon on that night, or that morning. That was the morning of October 25th. So here's what I've done. I've taken and flipped the filters on every single one that I could get my hands on in my movie maker. And you're going to see this thing scoot along the bottom of this camera, or this camera's vantage point, and you're going to see the outline of this big machine that I saw flying through the sky. Here we go. And I use as many filters as I could get where you could see it moving in. Watch along the bottom, right there. There it goes. Right there's when I saw it, and I looked to my right and followed it past the moon. And it was hard to see until it got over by the moon. Here it comes again, right? Now there it goes. That one was hard to see. That one wasn't one of my better ones. Okay, here's a pretty decent one here. Right there, see it? That thing's massive. I got the camera pointing at a 45-degree angle up in the sky. Here comes another vantage point here. Watch here. See it? There it goes. Right about there is when I saw it, and I looked to my right as it's headed towards the moon. And again, this thing is bigger than a football field, quite possibly 2 football fields. It was absolutely huge. Made no sound whatsoever, and it was in the shape of a boomerang. I've read stories and different reports, there it goes again right there, of people that have seen crafts like that. I personally have never seen one until 2 mornings ago. Here comes another filter, right there it is, see it? That one there is pretty good. But you got to keep in mind, this thing is not meant to be seen, okay? So for me to even pull it forward on any of these filters, I was surprised. There it is again right there. You're not supposed to see this thing. And it did blend in very well with the night sky until it got over by the moon. And I actually saw it before it got to the moon. And right there you can see it. That one there is pretty good. And again, I can't emphasize how big this thing was. And it made no sound. If you weren't looking in the area, you wouldn't have seen it because you couldn't hear it. It's right there. Absolutely huge. You could play the World Series on there and hold everybody that wanted to go. Watch right here. That one's a little difficult to see. It was really big, guys. No joke. That was just me using different filters. I numbered this filter here just so I wouldn't get it mixed up with other ones that I'd already done. I tried 100 different combinations to try to pull this thing forward. This is the same filter in slow motion. Slow motion really didn't do it any justice. It kind of did a little. You can see it moving slower across the bottom. It just barely got into the camera's field of view. And I had just turned on the video feature of the camera with 1 minute prior to this thing coming. This is fast forward. There it goes right there. And then I try a different filter right here, I think. There it goes. Right there. I just turned it on because I saw something flash in the sky. And that's it, guys. I do have a drawing of what I saw right here. That's what it looked like when it got over by the moon. Maybe it wouldn't hold 80,000 people, but I guarantee you could play the World Series on there for sure. It was that big. Bigger than a football field, maybe two. The side had some... It was at a different angle. I just drew it where it looks one-dimensional. It was definitely three-dimensional. It was more tilted that way, more flat because it was flying, moving very fast. Dull red lights across the top. Probably, again, it was difficult to tell with depth perception because this thing blended in really good with the night sky. I would say at least a 2-story building, maybe a 3-story building thickness. It was difficult to tell because even height, it was several thousand feet in the air, but it still looked just huge. Dull red lights on the top that looked just like that. They were very dull. Again, they weren't meant to be seen. Here's what I wrote down that morning before I forgot. Of course, I would never forget, but while it was still fresh in my mind, they always say whenever you see something like this, write it down right away so you'll remember the details. And I drew even the neighbors' trees, and that's the black wall that separates the neighbors from one another. That's between me and my neighbor. That's a tree behind the wall. That was where the moon was at. Those are stars in the west sky. That's south. Thursday, October 25th, 5:18 a.m. Came from the east, moving silently and very rapidly west, slightly northwest, and it did have kind of a northwest angle to it as it went by the moon. Again, extremely big. Passed just under, it was hard to tell, it may have been over, but it went by the moon. It didn't go in front of the moon, I do know that, at least from my perspective. From my perspective, it was larger than the full moon. Easy, it was big. Not literally, I'm not saying that it was a couple of thousand miles wide. I'm saying that from my perspective, it was bigger than what the full moon was. Approximate altitude was 10,000 feet. Again, it's hard to say. Sides had edges and thickness. Again, difficult to tell. Maybe 2-story building, 3-story building in thickness. Could have been more. I really don't know. Bigger than a football field. Red lights on top were very dull. Color of the craft was as dark as the black sky, and it blended in perfectly with the black sky. And that's just one of the locations where I got a really good look at it. It was moving across the sky. Let me see if I can find that again. I did a pano right here. It was moving across here so fast. And again, it had, I don't see how it would have had any business inside the atmosphere of Earth. It was so big. I mean, really, it was like, I don't know, it's difficult to comprehend that there's something that big that can fly and make no sound. And like I said, as far as any business it had to conduct inside Earth's atmosphere, it was just too big, and made no sound. It was really cool. And I saw that the morning of October 25th, 2018. And guys, I did my very best on that video. I know, you can't really see it, but I was just thankful that it did appear at least in some capacity in here. I had to use many filters. I tried many different combinations to even get it to come forward. The first few that I tried, I couldn't see it, and I was actually kind of bummed out. And I wasn't sure if it was in the line of the camera anyway. And it just got in the line of the camera's view. So I was glad that it at least showed up. And you can see movement right there. So I was glad to see that. It's not the best, I know, but it was the best I could do. I wasn't even expecting it. I wasn't out there looking for big giant space machines or flying machines that are as big as a baseball stadium or 2 football fields. It was just huge. But that would have required some sort of night vision camera, night vision goggles or something like that. I don't know. But it was really neat. It was flying in this direction here across the desert southwest the morning of October 25th, 2018. And I'm out there every October, the last week of October. I have been since 2012. I do it every single October. So anyway, that's what I saw on the 25th. Now I want to take you up to the 27th, which was this morning. The International Space Station flew over my area when I was outside at around 4:54 a.m., give or take a few minutes. I don't know the exact time because, again, I wasn't expecting it. I was looking for the star over in Hydra that I've been following for years. And then here come the space station, but I identified it right away. It wasn't like it was like, oh, there's something that's unidentifiable. I identified it right away, and I turned on the camera. And this is what I saw. I was just following the space station, wasn't thinking of anything else. And let me show you where the space station was flying. It was flying this direction, okay, through Hydra and then through Leo. It was going right through here. Did get a video of the space station and something else. So here we go. And this one's a little easier to see. Again, looking east, and there's the space station. All right, 4:54 a.m., and that's approximate. This thing's moving to the northeast, and this is 250 miles above Earth. And I think that was actually more over the New Mexico area. Now watch this. And the reason I let this whole video play when I recorded this entire movement of the space station is because I wanted to show you that whatever appears wasn't an airplane, or I would have seen it by now. All right, there's something right here. Okay, now watch. What was that? I slow it down and we zoom in and take a closer look, and there it was again. And then I stayed on that area. That's the area where that flash occurred, okay? The space station's moving this way. Something flashed right there, really bright, and it wasn't an airplane. We would have seen multiple flickers. You've all seen airplanes in the night sky. They flicker back and forth, you know, the light combinations back and forth rather quickly. There was nothing quick about that. In fact, there was a 7 or 8 second delay between visuals. But that's the area where, and I stayed on that area. The space station's still visible over here. I'm still looking for this flash, whatever it was. I was more intrigued by that. So now I go back over to the space station, and I watch it for, I don't know, another few seconds, and then it goes out of sight behind the neighbor's house. But that was an easy target. I knew right away what that was. I stayed on that dark section of sky looking for that flash again, because it wasn't something like an airplane. Didn't even behave like an airplane. Okay, here's the first look at the first flash up close. When it first became visible, right there. And it was coming in from the east-northeast. This was. And that's the direction that the space station was moving. I have no idea what this is. And this was this morning around 5 a.m. Okay, I've slowed it down. That's the space station. This is the flash that was really super intriguing. And again, that's not an airplane. Or you would have seen multiple flickers. You would have been able to identify the light cadence very, very simply. It just appeared and disappeared. And I replay it again, try to zoom in. I slowed it down. That's not an airplane. There it is again up close. Just bizarre. And it happens again. That's the space station this time. So this thing moved. It was moving. And this is at regular speed. See a flash. And you'll see another flash right there. That's not an airplane. No way. Don't know what that was. But caught it on film. And when I was recording the space station, like I said, I was more intrigued by this flash than I was the space station itself. That's in super slow motion. That's the second flash, and here it is, just the flashes. There's one. Let me try to stop it real quick. This is just the segment that had the flashes. Okay, there's the first one. You see why it intrigued me, right? And then we'll go 1001, 1002. This is regular speed. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Almost 10 seconds between flashes. And there's the other one right there. Nearly 10 seconds. And that's not how an airplane cadence is. I mean, it's much quicker than that. And that's not an airplane anyway. But I don't know what it is. But I saw that this morning around 5 o'clock as the space station was flying overhead. I've got a close-up view of one and then another one, I think, somewhere. Maybe I don't. Maybe that's just it right there. Oh, I think I've already showed you. It was in the video. Yeah, that's the object, whatever it was. And it did appear to be moving. It was coming from the east, northeast. And again, there's nothing out here where it was coming from. The space station was going over more of a New Mexico path, a trajectory, and I'm over here, but I could see it easily, and you saw the video. That was the space station. Whatever that flash was originated from way out here over the desert, over New Mexico, out in this area. And there's not much out there, if anything at all. So, interesting, guys, but what it was, I have no idea. I'll leave that up to you. But the boomerang thing, very real. That's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. I got to admit, it was very impressive. What that thing would be doing on the Earth is beyond me. It was just too big. It was just way too big for any type of business on Earth. I'm just letting you know. That thing was out of this world, literally. Who built it? Who was flying it? Those are the questions that you ask yourself after you see something like that. And you have 100% confirmation that they're real. Those are the questions that you're left with. And you ask yourself, who would be flying that? How would you learn to fly something that big? You know, it was moving so fast, and no sound. I don't know if it was responsible to, you know, communicate with any type of towers on the Earth. I mean, this thing was bigger than most. You couldn't have landed on an ordinary airport. I don't even know how it would land. It was so big. But simply unbelievable. I know for a fact they're real. I've read reports, but I've never seen one until the 25th. I did see one the morning of the 25th. I went right across the southern sky. This is the daytime view of the sky, but this is the way it traveled, right across there. Going at an extremely high rate of speed, but for something of that thing's size, it was probably slow. For it, I don't know. It's hard to even say how fast it was moving. But pretty cool, nevertheless. I'm glad I got to experience it, but that was not why I was out there. I was looking for something very unique in the constellation of Hydra. It's something I do every year in March and in October. October was quite interesting. I'll be up early in the morning again looking if the skies are clear. If they're cloudy, I don't even go outside. But the last 3 mornings, the skies have been pretty clear. In fact, very clear. The stars are out. But like I said, if I was not looking for anything unusual, I wasn't even looking for the space station. And normally, my phone will alert me when there's a ISS flyover. It'll give you a 5-minute heads up. Hey, there's a ISS flyover in your area. And sometimes, if it's not cloudy, I'll go out and check. And sometimes I won't. You know, it just depends on what's going on. But for some reason, this morning I didn't get an alert that one was coming over. But I just checked real quick. It's easy to confirm. And I've seen the space station before, so I knew that's what I was looking at. So that wasn't really a surprise. Those flashes, however, were something completely out of the ordinary. Was definitely not an airplane, much like that. That was not like any craft I've ever seen, but I can guarantee you with 100% truth, they're very real. But anyway, guys, that's what I've been doing the last 2 days. I've been trying to put that in a decent format so that it would at least be somewhat visible, and that's the very best that I could do. It did go across the bottom of this camera, and it was in there for a matter of about 4 seconds. All right, guys, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching. Have a super day, and be safe out there.